So guys, I hope everybody can see the presentation on the screen now. Yes, excellent. So we'll be taking a look at the reasoning questions from the CLAT exam, right? 2020. Most of them were verbal reasoning questions. Naam ke liye verbal reasoning. It was more of just reading comprehension types, right? This is useful for every entrance examination, not just for law entrance exams like CLAT, but for every entrance examination. I have sent across the PDF of the passages so that in case you are not comfortable reading it on the screen, you can read the PDF. I hope everybody has received that. Yes. I hope everybody has received the PDF. Correct. So what I will be doing is like we did it for the RC passages. I'll be putting up the passage or the question on the screen for some time. If you have done reading the passage, just give me a heads up that you have done. We can discuss any words or concepts that you don't understand from the passage first, and then we'll be taking a look at each question and how do we analyze. I'll be explaining how to go about understanding the options, how to go about selecting the right one, eliminating the wrong one, and so on, right? So I'm going to put up the question on the screen. First, take a look at it. Tell me when you are done. We'll discuss the tough words and other things, and then we will take a look at the questions to be solved. So here's the first one. Okay, guys, I hope most of us are done reading this passage. It's very interesting to see the source. This is actually from the Hindu, right? And it's an article from August. Very interesting. So this should be a clear indicator of what Patsar keeps telling, that you have to read a lot. So anybody who's in the habit of reading papers like the Hindu, if you are a regular reader, you may actually have read this passage before. Now imagine you have already read this passage before, and then you're faced with the same passage in the exam. Half your work is already done because you have a basic idea of what the passage is, right? Great. So first, the words which people had doubts with, and then we'll take a look at the questions. First one, the word Luddite or Luddite, what does it mean with a capital L, right? So we have to understand that analog and digital kya hota hai. Analog is old systems. It comes from actually electronics, but purane systems, jo regular systems the, like telephone, landline, that is analog. And digital, electronic se jo hota hai, that is considered digital. That is not actually the exact example. It's actually based on waveforms, but just to understand, analog is old, digital is the latest electronic based things. So when I talk about the strength of analog, that is old systems, I'm neither romanticizing the past, that is, I'm not making the past seem great, nor am I a Luddite. So by talking about the strength of old analog things, he's saying, although I am talking about old things, I'm not a Luddite. So who will be a person who is talking about old things? A person who does not like adapting to new things, right? But he's saying, although I'm talking about old things, I'm not a Luddite. So a Luddite technically is a person who does not like new things, a person who does not like use of new technology, right? There will be a lot of people who will be talking about, nahi purana zamana acha tha, ye kya mobile phone hai, I don't like mobile phones. Especially old people, you must have seen how they don't like using technology for a lot of things. So such people are called Luddites. Did everybody get, understood the meaning of the word Luddite? Right now, there are three words used: misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. Now here again, basic knowledge of vocabulary is good, basic, because we have to understand what they mean. Mis is wrong information. So if somebody tells you that the a planet which is closest to the sun is Pluto, that is misinformation, galat information. कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ा आपको. If somebody says 1 meter is 55 centimeters, it's just wrong information, right? So that is misinformation. Any information which is purposely given to you to mislead you, that is disinformation. आप पूछते हो कि आई एम इन हरी, आई नीड टू गो टू स्कूल, कौन से रास्ते से जाऊं, और कोई जानबूझ के आपको गलत रास्ता दिखा देता है, राइट? दे वांट टू मिसलीड यू. That is disinformation, information that is wrong, plus it is going to mislead you somewhere, right? Information which is used to, it is false information and the intention is to mislead you, that is disinformation. Mal literally means bad, right? Mal intention, mal area, right? Malefactor, malified. Mal means bad. So anything, any information which can actually harm you, which is harmful to you. Supposing you somebody says, "Ye dawai kha le, theek ho jayega." You eat that and you fall sick. It causes bad reaction. So that information which is wrong and which is given to make you get harm, to put you in harm's way, that is bad for you, actually, that is dangerous for you, that is malinformation. So did you understand the difference between mis, dis, and malinformation? They are all false, but they have different levels. Now, who is a skeptic? A skeptic is a non-believer. A person who does not believe in a particular thing is a skeptic. For example, if I don't believe that China has created, China was responsible for beginning of this thing, then I can say I'm a skeptic. Or Donald Trump is a skeptic about the existence of the coronavirus. So a person who does not believe in something, right? A person who doubts something is a skeptic. I hope everybody got the meanings. Any other word, any other meaning that you wish to understand? Or can we proceed with the passage? I hope everybody got a general meaning of the passage. Confirmation bias. What is meant by confirmation bias? Okay, the last line. Their confirmation bias flows from encrypted. Encrypted means coded social media platforms. So confirmation bias literally means you believe in something and your belief is confirmed. You already have a bias to. You understand what is meant by a bias, right? You already believe in something, right? And your belief, even if wrong, it gets supported by something. So that is a confirmation bias. A confirmation bias is basically something which supports a belief that you have. Right? So in fact, it's actually your tendency to look for things which supports your belief. You yourself will try to interpret things in a manner that it supports what you believe. That's confirmation bias. Did you get that? Twisting facts to make them support what you think is true. Okay, chalo guys, let's move on to the questions based on this passage. It's practically reading comprehension, but they asked in logical reasoning section. First one, which of the following conveys the main idea expressed in the passage? I don't know why they are called as a logical reasoning question. It's 100% reading comprehension thingy. So the main idea of the passage cannot be any option which is there in the passage but not the main idea of a passage. Any option which is only partially there in the passage, mentioned in the passage but not the central theme, cannot be the answer. So let's take a look at the thing. Here, a person, this author, he's talking about so the thing which has gone digital. He's talking about how it used to be analog and how things have become digital because of the pandemic and what are the pitfalls and other things like that, right? Is he in the entire passage giving you the idea that it's only about skepticism or disbelief of newspaper readers? He's not talking in the entire, okay, he may talk about skeptics, but he's not talking in about skeptics in the entire passage. The passage centrally does not talk about newspapers or skeptics, right? So A is not my answer. And the moment I know A is not my answer, all of the above also cannot be my answer. Because if any one of the options is eliminated, then all of the above also has to be eliminated. So A and C ek saath ud gaye. Now either B or C. B says those who subscribe to newspapers and news channels often contribute to distortion of truth. The passage is not about how newspaper readers or news channel watchers are distorting the truth. That is not the central theme of the passage, not by a long shot, right? So anyway, C has to be marked, but let's take a look at C to confirm. Does it say social media journalism distorts the truth? Yes, that is the general sense that we get more than anything else. So definitely option C has to be my answer. Did you understand the analysis of how we got through the options, eliminated most of them, and hence marked C as the answer? Now, because I'm doing it aloud, I'm doing it step by step, it will seem like it is taking a lot of time. But in the exam, the thought process happens in your mind. So you will be quickly able to do it. So in less than a minute, after the time that you have taken to read the passage, individual questions in less than a minute, you'll be able to crack it. Trust me. All it requires is a lot of reading practice. Okay? Chalo, moving on. Next one. In this line, hence, when I talk about the digital information news environment, I'm talking about how there needs to be a conducive atmosphere for credible information to resonate with the people. Conducive means that which helps. Credible means believable, true. Resonate means to make sense. Something, an idea resonates with people means it makes sense to the people. So guys, the answer is not something which will be directly be there in the passage. Why? Because the question clearly says you're supposed to see what the author is assuming. And by definition, we know that an assumption is not something which is openly given, right? It is not given in the passage, but it has to be true for the statement to be true. So which of these points has to be true so that the statement, hence when I talk about blah blah blah, will become true? Let's take a look at that. Okay, the first option, It says the digital news is neither evidence based nor data driven. If it is true that it is not based on evidence or data, then it does it make sense that the author will say that there needs to be a conducive atmosphere for credible information. Credible means believable, credible means true, that is evidence based. So if there is no, if the current news is not based on these things, then will the author say that it has to be there? Yes, it is because the current news is not evidence or database that the author says that it needs to be there. So A, possible as my answer. Second, it says that when I'm talking about blah 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 blah, to resonate with the people, for people to accept it. So B says digital journalism does not help people to make informed choices. So if digital journalism does not help people in making choices, then will the author suggest what changes must be made so that people accept it? Yes, if the current system is not helping people, then he will talk about what changes are required so that it helps, right? So B also can be my option. And luckily, I have an option which says both A and B are possible. So because A and B both are possible, I have to mark C as my answer. Let's take a look at D. Can we say impact of digital journalism has created an informed platform of journalism? No. In fact, the passage says digital journalism has led to a lot of journalism which is based on things which are not based on information, right? This is against what the basic idea of the passage is. So best possible option definitely has to be C. Did everybody get this one? I hope everybody got this one. In case there are doubts, you can always stop and ask. If not, let's move ahead then. Okay? Chalo, very good. Next one. Which of the following strengthens the author's argument? Right? The author is saying, trying to prove something in the entire passage. From the options, you have to select which one is actually supporting whatever he's saying. So here you have, this is a very nice logical thing. Here, verbal reasoning makes a lot of sense. Once you have understood the basic idea of the entire passage, right, you have to first understand what exactly is the argument made by him, and then you have to go through the options. So let's take a look at the author's argument. The author's argument is that there's a lot of information which is just happening on because of digital journalism, which is not true. And from the previous question itself, we know this, right? The passage is about how there's a lot of content in terms of digital media which is coming to the public, which is not necessarily true, which is not necessarily validated. So it's about the problems of how truth of content is being spoiled. Okay. So now is the first argument. Conspiracy theories have become an alternative truth. The last part of the passage, if you take a look, let's go back. Let's take a look at the previous thing. What does the passage say? If we go back to the passage, right? एक second. If we go back to the passage, it says editors and journalists have to contend with a new breed of skeptics who trust social media forwards, right? More, it falls, they trust it more than evidence based, right? Blah, 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 blah. A lot of this, right? The entire passage, he's lamenting about the death of basic news, and he's talking about how new information is being. So if he thinks that conspiracy theories have become alternative truth, then does it make sense whatever he's saying that people are now following Facebook forwards and WhatsApp forwards more than what is actual news? If this is true, if A is true, then whatever he's talking about in the passage, does it now make sense? In a way, yes. right? So A maybe could be my answer. So D तो नहीं होगा because A possible है, तो none of the above तो हो नहीं सकता है. Now B and C में से देखते हैं कि कोई better answer है या नहीं. B says pandemic is the only reason. Patigyu, इसके आगे तो मैं पढ़ूंगा भी नहीं, but okay, let's see. Can I say pandemic is the only reason behind dependence of people on social media journalism? No. This passage says now pandemic is the reason, but it is not saying that it is the only reason. It says currently whatever is happening because of pandemic, but he is not saying it is the only reason, right? Extreme option hai, so B not my answer. Now C may look like a great option. The news industry is witnessing a tremendous change. Bilkul. But does it support what the author is arguing? ऑथर अगर कह रहा है कि न्यूज बहुत डिजिटल मीडिया बहुत अच्छा है, तो भी saying that news industry is witnessing a tremendous change supports him. If he says digital news industry बुरा है, तो भी saying that news industry is changing is supporting him. So this is not supporting his argument. This statement can actually support any argument. This support is not supporting his particular argument. This thing is supporting any argument. So that cannot be a clear answer because this is actually a very generic statement which can be used to support anything. So that cannot be my answer. And hence, the best possible option definitely has to be A. Although C looks like a good option, अगर उसको आप ध्यान से देखोगे तो यू कैन दिस कैन बी यूज टू से एनीथिंग. आपको बोलना है कि ऑनलाइन अच्छा है तो भी दिस लाइन इज ट्रू. आपको अगर बोलना है कि ऑनलाइन बुरा है तो भी दिस लाइन इज ट्रू. इट जस्ट सेज दैट न्यूज इंडस्ट्री इज चेंजिंग. ना अच्छे के लिए ना बुरे के लिए. इट इज अ वेरी जेनरिक स्टेटमेंट. It is like in an argument somebody says India is a very good country. Excellent, but what do you mean by good? Right? Somebody says I have got a lot of experience, but that is a very general statement. So C is a very general option. It cannot actually answer the question clearly. So option A has to be the answer. Yes, Aditya, that's exactly what I'm saying. C is not actually strengthening the argument because it is a statement which can strengthen any argument related to news. So it is not particularly strengthening the author's argument and hence cannot be the answer. You get that, Aditya? Others, did you all get it? Right? So ऐसे options बढ़िया होंगे. Right? हमेशा कोई भी ऐसा ऑप्शन जो दिखने में बढ़िया है, लेकिन अगर आप एक सेकंड के लिए भी ज्यादा सोचोगे तो you will realize this can be used to support any argument. And the moment you get a line which can support both positive and negative, most of the time cannot be your answer for a specific strengthening of argument because this is too general. ठीक है? Very good. चलो, moving on. Next one. What does the author indicate when he quotes rose-colored glasses always lead to unfair distortion? Now, for this, you'll have to look back at the passage. If you look back at the passage, what does he mean when he uses the statement rose-colored glasses always lead to unfair distortion? I'm going back to the passage. In case you are not quickly able to identify the line, it is somewhere here. I'll go back to the question now. When the author is using these words, what exactly is he trying to say? Nope. Guys, you need to understand the meaning of rose-colored glasses. The meaning, it's actually an idiom, it's a phrase. If you are wearing rose tinted glasses, चश्मों पे अगर रंग है तो आपको सब कुछ गुलाबी दिखेगा. Gulabi means something, everything is fresh, right? The color rose color means everything is fresh. So if you take a look at the end, if you are wearing rose colored glasses, आपके चश्मे अगर गुलाबी हैं तो आपको दुनिया में हर चीज गुलाबी दिखेगी. What is the meaning of this? If your glasses are rose colored, then everything will look as if it is rose colored. It indicates bias in view. This expression कि गुलाबी चश्मे पहन के दुनिया को देखना, to wear rose colored tinted glasses, means to have bias towards your view. So if you are a good person, everything will seem good to you. If you're a bad person, everything will seem bad to you. Your perspective, your view of the world depends on your biases. It actually the rose colored glasses is a idiom which indicates bias towards perspective. And once I've given you the meaning of that, what is the author saying? The author says clearly that I understand that some people tend that analog has its own problems. He's saying yes, analog and digital में अलग है. कुछ लोग romantic उसको romanticize करने की कोशिश करेंगे, कुछ लोग ये करने की कोशिश करेंगे, लेकिन मैं नहीं करूंगा. So the moment he says that he knows that some people tend to romanticize it, but I will not do it, what is he doing? He's accepting that it is possible to have a bias. So then by saying that rose colored glasses always lead to unfair distortion, he's accepting the fact that there is a bias. And the moment he accepts it, the moment he says that I know that bias possible hai, that means you are saying that you are not biased. When you know that something is a problem, always you will say that I am not part of that problem. Right? He's accepting it is possible to have a bias. So he says, I am not subscribing to that thing, so I don't have a bias for analog journalism. Others may romanticize, I will not do it. That is what he means. So definitely the answer has to be B. C to koi hisab se nahi hai. Rosy picture of every news. It's not rosy picture of news, it's the rosy perspective that a person has. So C to koi angle se answer nahi hai. And rose colored glasses, rose colored glasses actually means having a positive perspective about things. So digital journalism is twisted, is negative. C also cannot be the answer. So the best possible option is definitely B. Did everybody get this one? Rosy colored glasses means positive outlook. A is not positive. Twisted is a negative thing. And C, it's not at all related to what he's meaning to say. So the only possible option is B, because all of them are automatically eliminate ho jata hai. I hope everybody got this one. Chalo then, moving ahead, next one. The author has severely targeted and criticized which of the following factors of digital journalism? Which of these factors he is actually targeting, saying that ye problematic hai? Which of these he's saying is the problem? Okay, Shubhankar is asking if it's the previous question, if he's asking that it leads to unfair distortion. See, he's not saying, where does he say? He's not, yeah, he's saying, see, he says, if you wear rose color glasses, it will lead to unfair distortion. He says, if you look at things with a bias, then it leads to things distorted. So when he says that I know if I look at things with rose colored glasses, it will be unfairly distorted. So he's saying, so, and hence I'm not looking at things with bias. अगर मैं सोचे बिना जवाब दूंगा तो प्रॉब्लम होगा. What is the meaning of that? If I say, अगर मैंने सोचे बिना जवाब दिया तो प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा. It means मैं सोचे बिना जवाब नहीं देता. Right? Because I say that answering without thinking is problem. Hence, it means I always answer after thinking. So when he says that rose colored glasses lead to distortion, it means I know that if I look at things in a certain perspective, it may be distorted. It means he's accepting distortion is possible and I will not fall into that trap. Did you get that, Shubhankar? Okay, next one. Which one is he actually targeting and criticizing? social outreach. No, this guy is talking about how he's never saying that digital things, digital journalism cannot reach. He never says digital journalism काफी लोगों तक नहीं पहुंच सकता. In fact, you get a feeling he knows everybody is reached through digital journalism. So social outreach is not the problem, and lack of information is also not the problem. He very clearly says too much of information happens on social media, but very clearly he talks about the credibility of the information, right? Confirmation bias, guys. Remember how people tend to believe everything, right? And even in one of the previous questions, we saw the problem was with the truthfulness, the authenticity of the information. So it is definitely the authenticity of the information which he's targeting. How authentic is this? So definitely option B has to be your answer. Did you get that, Dvija? I hope you got that. Not A, should be B. Did everybody get why B definitely has to be the answer to this question? Badhiya che. Chalo, let's move on to the next one then. Again, I'll give you a few minutes. This is from May 2020, Indian Express. Again, an opinion thing. Read this, tell me when you're done, then we will do the questions. Okay, guys, very, very interesting passage. Again, something which, even if you are just following news outlets or online things, we have seen these things in on media a lot. And especially being from a dry state, it hits us. Although we may not have publicly seen it happening near us because obviously Gujarat dry state, but definitely we followed a lot of information of these things happening in countries where in states of India where alcohol is not prohibited. Okay, first let's take a look at all the words, all the meanings that people have asked. Ineptness. So when you're expert at doing something, you're very good at it. The opposite of that is inept. Inept means not competent to do something. If you're very bad at doing something, you don't have the required expertise to do something. So that is ineptness. Ineptness means lack of expertise, the bad way in which the opening was handled. Yes, Puritanism. Okay, so Puritanism it actually comes from 17th century followers of English Protestantism. It basically means certain Puritans are people who have very strong religious beliefs about things of enjoyment, especially things like alcohol or sex or things like that. So people who are बहुत सख्त होते हैं कुछ चीजों में कि no alcohol, no this, हमेशा अच्छी जिंदगी जियो, right? So a group of people who have very strong beliefs about doing goody things, moral things. It's like morality. Moral beliefs क्या होते हैं, क्या अच्छा है क्या बुरा है. So that is Puritanism. Yes. Progressivism is a belief of being progressive. Progressive is आगे बढ़ते जाना. Progressivism is how progressive you are, how forward you are. Stampede is when a lot of crowds are भीड़ जब इकट्ठा होती है तो मुक्का दौड़ाम दौड़ी जो अफरा तफरी हो जाती है, that is called a stampede. It's a lot of people moving in a chaos. When a crowd moves in a chaos, धक्का मुक्की जो हो जाती है, that is called a stampede. Okay, the line. Certainly moralism or puritanism on alcohol cannot be the basis of state policy. So a state policy means what? The law made by a state. तो अल्कोहल के रिलेटेड जो भी लॉ बनाती है एक स्टेट, यू कैनॉट यूज मोरालिटी और प्यूरिटनिज्म एज द बेसिस फॉर दैट लॉ. ये you cannot say ये आत्मा के लिए अच्छा. You have to give a proper reason. You cannot say moral thing, ये ethical है, ये moral है. A law cannot be based on the basis of what people think is good or bad. There has to be a solid reason, a rational reason for a law. State cannot make policies based on what people think अच्छा या बुरा है. We get that, Aditya? Last second line. Okay. Any other word you want to understand, guys, before we move on to the passage? Shubhankar, can we say priests follow? Yes, we can't say all, but yes, we expect priests. Many priests are puritanical. बेसिकली कुछ लोग होते हैं ना, दारू भी नहीं पियेंगे, सिगरेट से दूर रहेंगे, इवन मीट नहीं खाएंगे. दे हैव वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग बिलीव्स ऑन प्यूरिटैनिकल. फॉर एग्जांपल, इफ सी से स्कूल में लड़का लड़कियों को अलग बिठा दो, दैट इज अ बिट एक्सट्रीम. Puritanical is actually not used as a positive thing. It is used to denote something which is a bit extreme, जरूरत से ज्यादा. Like schools में लड़का लड़की बात तक नहीं कर सकते, so you will describe them as puritanical. पुराने ख्यालात, which is not great to have in the current scenario. Did everybody get all the meanings? Can we move on to the question now, guys? ठीक है, चलो, let's take a look at the questions. First one. In the above passage, the author uses what to strengthen his argument? What does the author use? It's beautiful. In fact, the first part is not at all actually the thing. The passage is all about what is currently happening in India. But he starts by talking about what happened in Russia under Mikhail Gorbachev. He first gives you the complete story of what happened, and then he compares it to the situation in India, right? So when you're talking about comparing two things by giving an example, if you're talking about comparing two things by giving an example, as white as snow, as dark as crow, as fast as a leopard, cheetah, whatever, that is all called being analogical, right? Comparing two things. So when you compare two things, especially through an example, that is an analogy. And guys, we have seen the other things like metaphor and personification when we did the third passage last time. Remember the cat wala passage tha, usme question tha, simile, metaphor, alliteration, onomatopoeia. So figures of speech. So one more figure of speech. And in this one, it is analogy. he's using an example. He's actually giving a full example first and then talking how it is comparable. So it is 110% analogy. Yes. Now, what's the difference between an analogy and simile? Excellent question. Simile is when you say something is like something, right? Especially when you use the word like or as white as snow. India is like Russia. She is like a butterfly. He is like a lion, right? When you're using such things, comparing two things, that is actually a simile. An analogy is using an example to compare two things. Here, he's not just saying Russia, India is like Russia. He first gave the example of Russia and is explaining how that situation, how that example applies to India. He's not simply comparing two things. He's actually using an example of Russia to explain the concept. So that is an analogy. An analogy, the word analogy literally means speaking something like, speaking like something. So analogy. Did you get that? The difference between analogy and simile. When an example is used to explain a concept, that is an analogy. Simile is saying one thing is like another. And metaphor, of course, I hope you know, implied simile, one thing is another. Yes, yes, analogy is comparing with an example. Did everybody get this one? Pretty simple one. Okay. Chalo, next one. Which of the following can be inferred from the passage? So you don't have to find out something already given, but from the passage, what can be deduced? What can be understood from the passage? A lot of guys making mistakes. Lot of guys making mistakes. Guys, there are very obvious clues in each of the options to select or eliminate. Now, remember one thing, nobody likes extreme answers. That is one hint which one thing you should always remember. Unless the passage itself is talking about extreme concepts, extreme answers are always bad answers. Sure. It says, which of the following can be inferred, right? Now, first one, state must not interfere at all with the individual's right to drink. एक्सट्रीम है। कहां पे पैसेज कहता है कि स्टेट को बिल्कुल इंटरफेयर नहीं करना चाहिए? इट सेज state must not make a law based on moral things or Puritan values. It does not say it should not make any law at all. It says the law should not be based on morality. It should not be based on Puritan concepts, which means if there is something better, it can be implemented. So, not interfere at all. Extreme option cannot be my answer. So, A is eliminated. Now, let's take a look at B. Liberalism has always been misunderstood. फिर से extreme आ गया. The passage is not at all about liberalism. It is about how liberalism is misunderstood in certain things, right? But ये option बोलता है कि it is always misunderstood. Again, extreme option cannot be my answer. B gets eliminated. C, it is very difficult to discuss any issue related to personal freedom. Again, extreme option हो गया. Here, the thing is related to alcohol, it is a problem. But the option says कोई भी personal freedom का question होगा, it is always difficult to discuss. ऐसा तो नहीं है. It is only certain problems which are difficult to discuss. So I don't think C also makes any sense because at all, always any extreme options बन जाते हैं यहाँ पे. So none of them is actually a great option. So D, none of the above has to be marked as the answer. Do you agree with this analysis? Do you understand? Right? एक एक छोटा छोटा word हर एक option में है which helps you eliminate that option. Any option which is extreme is generally not a good option to use. Here they are discussing only one concept and that is related to consumption of alcohol and a law. So यहाँ पे no interference at all, always misunderstood, any issue is difficult, ये सारे obvious clues हैं. This is not what the passage is discussing. Are we together on that, everyone? Yes, बढ़िया अच्छे, राइट. सो ऑलवेज बी केयरफुल. ऐसा कोई वर्ड दिख जाए आपको तो उस पर पहले ध्यान दो और सोचो, is the passage really that extreme, or is the answer extreme against the passage? That is a very clear way of eliminating many options in things. Sanskriti, you originally thought D, but it should have. Why? So अगर see, if A, B या C में से ही आंसर होना चाहिए तो D ऑप्शन ही क्यों देते हैं आपको? No, right? It's not necessary that every question is answerable. Haven't we seen none of these or cannot be determined? We have absolutely seen that. So always trust your instinct. Many times your first instinct is usually right. Okay? Trust your instinct. Chalo, next one. Which of the following statement weakens the argument that moralism cannot be a basis of state policy? So guys, here you have to be very careful that you have to weaken the argument, which means you have to say moralism on alcohol can be the basis. You have to prove that moralism can be the basis. Not getting the exact answer, guys. चलो, वो क्या बोलते हैं कि moralism cannot be a basis of making a law. Passage बोलता है we have to go against this, so we have to prove in what situation can morality or ethics be actually used to make a policy. You have to say that moralism on alcohol cannot be the basis, is to be weakened. That means you have to look at the option which says that it is okay to make a law based on what people think is good or bad. Okay, first option क्या कहता है? The state should not interfere with people's right to drink, but there will be a backlash if drinking takes form that inflicts great social harm. See, मोरालिटी के बेसिस पे हम अल्कोहल प्रोहिबिशन तो नहीं ही कर सकते, लेकिन अगर ड्रिंकिंग की वजह से सोशल हार्म्स होते हैं तो लोग इसके खिलाफ भड़केंगे. बैकलैशेस, भड़कना, पब्लिक का भड़कना किसी के खिलाफ. सो it says yes, society, state should not interfere, but because of drinking, if there is social harm, then people will say bad thing, people will immediately revolt, and hence we have to put a ban on alcohol, right? Social harm ki wajah se, if people suddenly start going against you, then the state will be forced to put a ban on alcohol, saying that this is wrong. So A is a good option to say why moralism can be a basis of state policy, right? A is possible as an option, but again, जब तक मैं दूसरे options को नहीं देखता तब तक मैं mark नहीं करूंगा. So let's take a look at next. Okay, if freedom cannot be divorced, if freedom should not be divorced means separated. If freedom and moderation means control over things, not doing anything excessively. So if freedom and control cannot be separated, then obviously you can say that morality can be a basis for banning alcohol. If freedom is allowing to do whatever you want, moderation means having a control over whatever you want, right? Freedom का मतलब ये नहीं है कि जो चाहे वो सब कुछ कर सकते हैं. Freedom and moderation should go together. जो चाहे करो, लेकिन एक लिमिट में रह के करो. अगर ये सही है कि फ्रीडम लिमिट के साथ होना चाहिए, then obviously you can use morality to ban alcohol. B also can be my answer. And if A, B both are possible as answers, मैं C को पढ़ूंगा भी नहीं, because एक से ज्यादा का ऑप्शन D है मेरे पास. My option D, all of the above. But to make sure, let's take a look at the third option. the state should not interfere in matters of sexuality or intimacy, but norms of freedom will impose serious cost and will not survive if the expression of sexuality are consistently degrading or violent, as we have seen in the locker room scandals. इसका मीनिंग क्या है? ये कहता है कि स्टेट should not interfere in things related to sex or in things related to intimacy. Intimacy means closeness, physical closeness. स्टेट ऑब्वियसली इन चीजों में दखल नहीं देना चाहिए, लेकिन स्टेट के दखल ना देने से इफ इट बिकम्स वायलेंट और डिग्रेडिंग, सेक्स के मामले में, इंटीमेसी के मामले में स्टेट दखल नहीं देता है, लेकिन क्योंकि स्टेट डज नॉट इंटरफियर, things related to it become violent, things become bad, like how we saw the locker room scandal, boys locker room, if you remember the passage, right? Because the state is not at all interfering, this freedom becomes violent and problematic. तो बहुत बड़ा problem हो गया. That means they have to interfere in these personal matters because of moral reasons, which is the same argument why moral reasons can be used to ban alcohol. So C also helps us. So all three of them are reasons why morality can be used to make state policies. So best option, obviously D. Did everybody get this one? Why my best possible option definitely is D. D for Delhi. Right. See, Pranav, the biggest mistake that we make when we are talking about questions supporting the argument or something is not understanding that many a times you can argue using examples of other things, right? You can always argue using examples of other things. For example, the question is not about alcohol. The question is about using moral values to make a policy. Policy was regarding alcohol, but the question is moral values cannot be used to make a policy is actually the concept which the question asks. So the C option says, जैसे sexuality is also about morality, तो sexual freedom के लिए आप morality use ना करो तो rape जैसी हरकतें हो सकती हैं, इसलिए वहां पे moral values के basis पे law बनाना पड़ेगा. Using that as an analogy, so अगर वो argument सही है तो alcohol वाला argument भी तो सही है. So they are using an analogy to explain. Just like moral values can be used to make laws related to sexuality, same moral values, hence moral values can be used to make laws related to alcohol. That is what they are saying. You got that, Prana? Okay. See, that's exactly the trick they are using in the question. C option अगर आप सबसे पहले पढ़ोगे, because normally हमारा tendency क्या होता है, सबसे लंबा जो option होता है 99% we think that is right. तो our tendency is to read the long option. अब C option आपने पढ़ा, बिना एनालिसिस किए आपने अगर पढ़ा तो आपको लगेगा ये तो यार सेक्सुअलिटी एंड इंटीमेसी की बात, इसमें अल्कोहल की कोई लेना देना नहीं है, ये इररिलेवेंट है. When actually it is an analogy between the two things. Did you understand it now? It is an analogy between the two things. Yes, Shubhankar says, I don't understand how these options are connected to what is morality. First, you have to understand what is morality. Morality is believing something is right or wrong without a scientific reason behind it. I should not tell a lie is a moral value. Is there a scientific reason why I should not tell a lie? Respect your elders is a moral value. Is there a scientific reason why I should respect my elders? Or is it a moral value? Do you understand? Now, do you understand what is meant by a moral value? Yes. Now, the question they're saying, शराब पीना बुरी बात है, right? If you say शराब पीना सेहत के लिए हानिकारक है, that is scientific. लेकिन जो शराब पीते हैं वो बुरे लोग हैं, that is a moral argument. Do you accept that first, Shubhankar? Do you accept this? No. So they're saying that using a moral argument to ban alcohol is wrong. You have to give an explanation how moral values can be used to ban alcohol. Now, did you understand the question, what you are supposed to do in it? Yes? Okay. First option says, if अच्छा बुरा वाला आर्ग्यूमेंट यूज नहीं करते एंड अल्कोहल को बैन नहीं करते, लेकिन अल्कोहल पीने से सोसाइटी को हार्म होता है, जिसकी वजह से सोसाइटी नाराज होती है सरकार से, is that a good reason to say sarkar should use any explanation to ban alcohol? If by not banning the society is going to give a backlash, does that support the fact that the law should be made? Even if it is based on morality, the law should be made, because not making the law is worse, and hence option A is correct. Yes. Now second one, freedom should be divorced from moderation. If it is true कि फ्रीडम अनलिमिटेड नहीं हो सकता, फ्रीडम पर भी कंट्रोल होना चाहिए, तो ये तो ऑब्वियसली मॉरल वैल्यू है ना. व्हाई शुड फ्रीडम बी कंट्रोल्ड? दैट्स अ मॉरल पॉइंट. So but if you are ready to accept that freedom should be controlled, then obviously you should be ready to accept that banning alcohol can be made on moral basis. Did you get that? I hope you got that. Right? Chalo, moving ahead. Next one. Which of the following is true as per this passage? Now Shubhankar is getting it. Good. Zarna also got it. Very good. No, Aditya. No, no, no. Kahini, no. Guys, understand, what did we talk about? What was that? Let's take a look at it. Which of the following is true as per the passage? You have to identify what is true. Liberals should not be concerned about prohibition on alcohol at all. Guys, remember what I said? Anything extreme, normally I will avoid if the passage is not extreme. This passage is not an extreme passage. It does not say they should not be concerned at all. So A, definitely not my answer. Okay. Moralism should be based on justified idols. See, yes, we are saying we cannot simply accept things on moral basis, right? That was what one of the argument, what the passage basically talked about. So we can't be expected to believe things because they're moral. Even if it is if it is moral, there must be an explanation. That is definitely what the passage is talking about. So B possibly could be my answer. But let's take a look at C. Moralism must not be the basis of any state action. Again, extreme aa gaya. कोई भी state action na. It says morality cannot be the basis, but you cannot say morality must not be the basis of any. Must is also extreme. Any action is also extreme. C also cannot be my answer. A और C उड़ गए. D कोई एंगल से नहीं हो सकता. B has to be the right one. Guys, although we may think they are all different passages, different things, the same set of analytical principles work for all the questions. I hope you're realizing this. It is the same type of argument that I'm making for practically most of the options. Extreme options, not following the passage, right? ये कुछ ही points हैं जिसके basis पे many answers get eliminated. I hope slowly and steadily you're getting a hang of how these things work. Right? Every time it is those basic principles which will help you eliminate. Did everybody get this one? I hope yes. Okay? Moving on. Now, according to the passage, which of the following could be a part of the state's policy to regulate alcohol use in India? Regulate alcohol use in India. Guys, even if I have not read the passage, I can guess what the answer should be. Even if I have not read the passage, I'll be able to guess what the answer is. This question is like that. More than the question, the options are like that. And most of you are intelligently guessing the right answer. Very nice. Very good. Most of you are getting the right answer. Excellent. बढ़िया है. So let's see. Intelligently क्या कर सकते हैं? According to the passage, which of the following could be part of the state's policy to regulate? Regulate का मतलब क्या है? The word regulate means to control, to manage, right? मैनेज करने के लिए क्या करना है? फर्स्ट वन सेज बैन ऑन अल्कोहल शॉप्स. भाई हम कंट्रोल की बात कर रहे हैं, बैन कैसे हो सकता है कोई भी चीज? कंट्रोल डज नॉट मीन स्टॉप. कंट्रोल मीन्स कितना जा रहा है उस पर ध्यान रखें. It does not mean stopping it. So you cannot be talking about banning shops because you only want a policy to control it. One cannot be the answer. तो जो भी ऑप्शन के अंदर वन है उसको तो मैं एलिमिनेट ही कर दूंगा. सो ए डी दोनों ही नहीं हो सकते, राइट? बिकॉज banning something is not a method of regulating or controlling something, right? Banning is simply done when you want to eliminate it, but when they say you want to control it, you will not ban it. सो वन ऑप्शन निकल गया, ए एंड डी निकल गए. अब बी एंड सी में देखो, दोनों के अंदर 2 है, दोनों के अंदर 4 है, राइट? सो 2 and 4 मेरे को पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं है. Why should I read 2 and 4? Because both of them contain 2 and 4. So the only option I need to read is third. Is that part of the answer or not? Let's see. Regulating outlet density of alcohol shops. एक पर्टिकुलर एरिया के अंदर कितने दुकानें हैं उसको कंट्रोल करो. Now, do I need to go back to the passage to see whether this can be part of the policy? No. Why? Remember, the passage was all about alcohol shops during pandemic. And I know alcohol shops during pandemic की अगर बात करते हैं, the biggest problem is social distancing, that there is no social distancing between people. लेकिन दुकानों को अगर मैं दूर दूर रखूं तो social distancing का problem solve हो जाएगा. तो it will help in regulation, right? सो जितनी दुकानें हैं एक एरिया में उसके नंबर को मैं कंट्रोल करूं तो ऑब्वियसली आई कैन रेगुलेट इट. एक ज्यादा दुकानें हैं ज्यादा बिकेंगी, कम दुकानें होंगी कम बिकेंगी. सो बाय कंट्रोलिंग द नंबर ऑफ शॉप्स ऑब्वियसली आई कैन कंट्रोल द यूज ऑफ अल्कोहल. 3 मेक्स सेंस, राइट? सो माय बेस्ट पॉसिबल ऑप्शंस has to be option C. So even by not reading the passage again, I can still make out the right option has to be 2, 3 and 4. That is option C. Did everybody get this one? 2, 3 and 4, option C. Why this is the right one? See, so just by, see, if you have read, I'm sure many of us have been reading news during pandemic. So एक तो अगर आपने पैंडेमिक के दौरान ये अल्कोहल शॉप्स का प्रॉब्लम पढ़ा होता तो यू ऑलरेडी नो व्हाट द इश्यू वाज. सो ये पैसेज को ऊपर ऊपर से पढ़ लेते तो भी आपको बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस के आंसर मिल जाते. सो गाइस, डू यू सी how even in the reasoning section, verbal reasoning, simple techniques of reading comprehension and good reading habits will help you a lot in cracking it. ठीक है जी. Moving ahead, next passage, I'll give you a few minutes, read it, give me a heads up when you're done, then we will discuss. Okay, guys, I hope we are done reading, at least most of us. Couple of words. Stasis is stopping or slowing down of things. To browbeat someone means to bully someone. किसी पे जोर जबरदस्ती करना. Right? To bully someone, to force someone is to browbeat someone. To alleviate means to reduce. Right? If you're having fever, you take medicines to alleviate the fever. Right? To make something better. Any other word? Or succor means help. Succor means any help which you give, like the mother provided succor to the child by keeping a warm compress on his face. So succor means help, to alleviate something. Relief, it literally means relief. Succor literally means relief. Anything else? Any other words or concepts before we start with the passage? Nine? Okay, chalo. Let's take a. So again, guys, very interesting this year that a lot of passages used both in English and reading and verbal reasoning were all based on current events, especially the pandemic. Right. This is again an article which we are seeing, which is again based on education during the times of pandemic, and it starts with a modified idiom or phrase. The actual phrase is every cloud has a silver lining, which means even after bad things, the good things can always be expected. But here they have twisted it. It says behind every silver lining there is a cloud. Here they're actually taking a pessimistic view कि जो दिखने में अच्छा है उसके पीछे भी बुरी चीजें हैं. They're actually reversing the actual idiom. The actual idiom is positive. Here they have twisted it to make it into a negative one. Right? Chalo, let's take a look at the questions from this passage and see how we can go about solving them. Literally, what I was discussing. What is the cloud behind the silver lining in the passage? Cloud behind the silver lining. अच्छी चीज के पीछे छुपी हुई बुरी चीज. What is that? And very clearly from the options, you can make out the answer. Very clearly from the options, you can make out the answer, guys. The entire passage is talk, and this is something which I actually have talked a lot about with other teachers. This is the problem which this current generation is facing a lot, right? You guys may not realize it, but this is definitely a problem which the current generation is facing a lot. When we see a lot of 90, 95, 99 percentage in students mark sheets, it does not reflect that they are more intelligent. It actually reflects how grading systems have deproved, have actually gone down. I've seen teachers giving marks to students just because they don't want to fail anybody. They don't want to teach the student again. इसलिए कुछ भी लिखा है बकवास चलेगा, पास कर दो इसको. Right? Very sad. So the cloud behind the silver lining, it's not about the pandemic. It's not about government educations unable to deliver quality education, and it's not about license Raj. It actually is that getting higher marks or percentage does not guarantee skilled and competitive candidature. Just because somebody has got a certain percentage in the exam does not mean they actually have that many skills. A person who got 80 percentage 20 years back would actually have more academic intelligence than a person getting 90 plus percentage today. Kids getting 90 plus percentage today actually may not be as intelligent as kids who got even 80 percentage 20 years back. So that's exactly what option C is all about, whether you like it or not. That is the right answer. Did everybody get this one? I hope everybody got this particular one. Yes. Moving on. Next one. Which of the following statement weakens the argument weakens the argument that chopping the syllabi is plural of syllabus? Which statement weakens the argument that chopping the syllabi in times of pandemic will only worsen a student's disorientation and hence should be reconsidered? Don't chop the syllabus. इसको weaken करना है, which means chop करना is okay. So guys, the explanations given in the options will not be in the passage. They are additional information. But if that statement is true, then does it weaken the argument that it is bad to chop the syllabus? And guys, this is where we need to take each option carefully. What is the opposite of bad? The opposite of bad is not necessarily good. The opposite of bad can also be neutral, right? Opposite of bad technically means not bad. Now not bad का मतलब good भी हो सकता है, not bad का मतलब neutral भी हो सकता है. So कोई चीज अगर बुरी है तो अच्छी is not exactly the opposite. क्या फर्क पड़ता है can also be the opposite. So they're saying that we should not chop the syllabus because it will worsen the student's disorientation. We have to say this argument is not sensible. Let's take a look at the options. First one says it does not matter if the syllabus is chopped. Students who don't want to study will not study even in the minimal syllabus structure. See, अगर student को कुछ पढ़ी ही नहीं है तो can I say chopping the syllabus is bad? Student को syllabus के साथ कोई लेना देना ही नहीं है तो मैं chop करूं ना करूं क्या फर्क पड़ता है? So that is weakening the argument that chopping is bad. So A possibly can be my answer. Similarly, second one क्या कहता है? Students don't care about the syllabus. They study only for marks and grades. So if student doesn't care about the syllabus, how is it going to make any difference by chopping it? Again, B also weakens the argument. So दो है, technically D को mark कर दो. C देखने की भी जरूरत नहीं है. But let's take a look at C for the sake of completion. If reducing the syllabus helps, positive, reducing the syllabus helps in achieving teacher learning targets in due time and doesn't put pressure, then it's a good thing. So that is weakening the argument that chopping is bad. So again, C also can be my answer. So best possible option, definitely D. Any one of the three argument goes against the thing that chopping is bad. Did we get this? Aditya, see, this is where English you need to understand. Just because the word only has been used, you have to understand in what sense it has been used. Right? सिर्फ इसके लिए पढ़ते हैं, सिर्फ पढ़ते हैं. So the word only here is not being used in an extreme way. It has been used with और किसी के लिए नहीं पढ़ते, सिर्फ इसके लिए पढ़ते हैं. So it does not it's the sense is not extreme. Although the word is extreme, the sense in which it has been used, वो तो सिर्फ मार्क्स के लिए पढ़ते हैं, किसी और चीज के लिए नहीं पढ़ते. So it's not necessary. The option is not. It does not make the option extreme. वो तो सिर्फ मार्क्स के लिए पढ़ते हैं. That does not make the statement an extreme statement. Did you get that? Using the word only, you should never make the mistake of looking at a word and assuming all only. ये सारे words हैं तो automatically does not make it an extreme option. Did you get that? Others, I hope everybody understood. D is definitely the answer to this one. Yes. Moving ahead. The number of students scoring 95% and above in 12th class boards has more than doubled. Which of the following statements serves as a plausible explanation for the same? Plausible means something which makes sense. Again, it may or may not be from the passage, right? Which of the options, if true, explains why number of students getting 95% and more has doubled? So guys, here it's not what the passage says. Remember, reading comprehension nahi hai, reasoning hai. It does not say according to the passage which of these is the option. You have to say which of these options, if true, explains what they have asked. Okay, a lot of you getting it. Very good. So, which of the following statements serves as a plausible explanation? Means if the particular option is true, does it make sense that because of it, more students are getting better marks? Let's see. First one, students have started studying with sincerity and concentration. Bhai, if students have started studying with sincerity, obviously their results will improve. A definitely can be my answer. Second, evaluation of answer scripts, that is answer sheets, has become liberal. हाँ, अगर ज्यादा लिबरली पेपर चेकिंग होता है तो भी मार्क्स तो बढ़ेंगे. बी ऑल्सो कैन बी माई आंसर. एक से ज्यादा ऑप्शन है, डी हैज टू बी मार्क्ड. But let's take a look at C for completion. Question papers are easier. Obviously, question easy है, marks ज़्यादा आएंगे. So definitely, all the three options give an explanation on why more students are getting better marks. So all of the above, definitely the answer. Now, if the now Aditya, the question you have asked is very good, right? He says if the question had mentioned according to the passage, right? So according to the passage, what is the explanation? Then very correctly, the passage very clearly says that marks is not an indication of improved quality of students, but liberal checking. The passage very clearly talks about liberal checking. So it's not C, it is B, right? It is not that they are easy or the students are better, but the grading has become simple. So B will be the answer. Aditya, B will be the answer. The passage is saying, is the passage says it's not students are bright or questions are easy, but the checking has become lenient. Hope everybody got this one. ठीक है, चलो next one. For developing a student friendly ecosystem, that is environment of education, which of the following serve as need of the hour as per the author? So it means now the points have to be from the passage. So we have to go as per the author. Chalo, increasing the syllabus in school education. You might be tempted to mark this, but guys, remember, author says syllabus ko kam mat karo, but nowhere he says usko badhao. Don't decrease the syllabus का मतलब ये भी तो हो सकता है कि keep it as it is. So remember, opposite of not cutting is not necessarily increasing. It could be keep it same. So he does not talk about increasing the syllabus, right? So any option which talks about one as the answer is eliminated. So A option उड़ गया मेरा, B option भी उड़ गया because one is not the answer. So clearly 3 है या 2 4 है. अब दो क्वेश्चंस को देखना है तो 2 4 देखो, या एक ही को देखना है 3 को देख लो. 3 को देखते हैं. Eliminating reservation in admission. पूरे पैसेज में कहीं पे भी हैज दे मेंशन्ड एनीथिंग ऑफ रिजर्वेशन? नो, इट्स अबाउट सिलेबस, इट्स अबाउट नंबर ऑफ कॉलेजेस, इट्स अबाउट quality education, but it is never about reservations, right? It is never about reservations. So by eliminating A, B and C, the only possible option is D. 2 and 4, check it. 2 says building adequate number of public colleges. Somewhere yes, it does mention that. Creating quality based education system, it does mention that. So 110% answer to this has to be option D. Did everybody get this one? 110% option D, because very clearly we are eliminating every other option. So this I think was a Pappu question. कोई problem ही नहीं है इसके अंदर. बराबर 6. Did everybody get this one? चलो. I think last one for this passage. Which of the following can be inferred from the passage? So again, it is the answer is not in the passage, but it comes from the passage. It is not part of the passage, but it is derived from things which are given in the passage. Which one? Yes, guys. taking a look at it. Is the passage about reducing the stress in students because of the pandemic? I don't think so. The passage, although is discussing things in during pandemic, it is not about reducing stress. In fact, the passage is actually about quality of education. So I cannot say A is my answer, because I'm not saying that high marks will reduce stress, right? It has nothing to do with reduction of stress. Giving high marks, reducing stress, that is not at all what the author is talking about in the passage. So A, definitely not my answer. High cutoff marks also contribute in reducing opportunities for our students. In a way, that is exactly what this passage is saying. कि if everybody is a topper, तो फिर नौकरी किसको दूं? If everybody is getting 95 plus percentage, then it becomes difficult because job opportunities are not there. So B possibly could be my answer, right? I could possibly mark B as my answer, but I will not before I check the other options. C says private institutions should not be regulated. भाई साहब ये तो बोल रहे हैं कि private institutions should also help. Remember browbeat. They're saying it browbeat the private institutions also into quality, blah blah blah. So it is not at all talking about not regulating. And this thing, the passage is also not about license, Raj. It's not about having to have license for everything, right? So I will not say it is C or D. So the only option which is actually derivable directly from the passage definitely has to be option B. That because of high cutoff marks, students actually face problems in getting opportunities. Did everybody understand this one? Yes. Excellent. So guys, there are other questions also, right? It is already there in the passages which are given to you, the material, the PDF which I sent. So I hope you will also do the remaining questions, analyze each of them properly, and get the maximum correct answers. If there are any doubts, you can hang around and ask. Else, we are done for the day, right? You may exit the session. Any doubts, hang around. Else, have a good day. Stay safe.